The sky was supposed to be Europe's weapon, but 2 years later it has turned into Europe's curse. Think about it. In early 2022, the European Union proudly announced one of its most symbolic sanctions against Moscow, closing its skies to Russian aviation. Brussels promised this move would isolate Russia, strangle its economy, and demonstrate Western unity. But here's what they don't tell you. That very decision has backfired, hitting Europe's own airlines harder than Moscow ever imagined. Today, Lufthansa, Air France, and British Airways, the giants of European aviation, are struggling for survival. Meanwhile, carriers from China, Turkey, and the Middle East are seizing control of global air routes. When Europe banned Russian planes, Moscow retaliated immediately. It shut its enormous airspace to European carriers. That might not sound like a big deal at first, but Russia's geography makes it unavoidable for efficient travel between Europe and Asia. If you're flying from London to Seoul, Paris to Tokyo, or Frankfurt to Beijing, you need the Russian shortcut. Without it, planes must detour thousands of kilometers, adding hours of flight time, burning nearly twice the fuel, exhausting crews and driving up ticket prices by 40 to 60%. The result? Many flights became unprofitable overnight. Finnair, once known as the perfect bridge between Europe and Asia, has been devastated. Its Helsinki hub depended entirely on quick connections through Russian skies. Meanwhile, passengers aren't waiting around. Travelers have shifted to Turkish Airlines, Emirates, Qatar Airways, and Chinese carriers, all of which still fly the shorter, cheaper, and more convenient routes across Russian airspace. Slowly but surely, Istanbul, Dubai, and Beijing are replacing Frankfurt, Paris, and London as the crossroads of international aviation. This is the boomerang effect of sanctions. A policy designed to punish Moscow is now punishing Brussels. And here's the twist. Moscow isn't budging. European negotiators have quietly approached the Kremlin, asking for access back into Russian skies. But Russia has responded with hard conditions. No flights until sanctions are lifted, seized Russian aircraft are returned, and written guarantees are provided that such confiscations will never happen again. This shocked European leaders who, for decades, were used to dictating terms. Let's take a step back. In 2022, when sanctions began, Western governments also seized hundreds of Russian airplanes leased from Western companies. But Moscow acted swiftly. Russia passed emergency laws to re-register the aircraft under its jurisdiction. The leasing companies lost billions. AerCap, one of the largest, admitted losing over 100 aircraft. Ironically, sanctions meant to destroy Russian aviation forced Moscow to accelerate independence. Domestic manufacturing projects like the Sukhoi Superjet, the MC-21, and the revived Ilyushin Il-96 are moving forward. Supply chains for maintenance and spare parts have been rebuilt with support from China, Iran, and India. Instead of collapsing, Russian aviation has adapted, survived, and even strengthened. What's happening here is bigger than aviation. It's a shift in the balance of global power. For decades, Europe's strength was its connectivity. But geography doesn't bend to political slogans. Without Russian airspace, Europe can't compete, and Moscow knows it. That's why the Kremlin calls this not just a transportation issue, but a matter of sovereignty. And so a new map of aviation is being drawn. The hubs of tomorrow aren't European, they're multipolar. Istanbul, Dubai, Beijing, Shanghai, Moscow itself, and Europe? It's being reduced from a global connector to a bypassed corner. Think of the irony. Ursula von der Leyen and other EU leaders once boasted that Russia's economy was in tatters. They mocked Moscow's resilience. The so-called Sky War has revealed a brutal truth. Sanctions may hurt, but geography is stronger than ideology. You can't sanction a map. Tourism flows are shifting. Trade routes are shifting. Even legal norms are shifting. The leasing companies will likely never see their planes again. Courts may rule in their favor, but enforcement inside Russia is impossible. This is why some European experts quietly call this the Air Rubicon, a point of no return for Europe's aviation industry. Once lost, market share won't come back. Once passengers choose Istanbul over Frankfurt, habits change. Russia is deepening cooperation with BRICS partners, expanding maintenance deals with Iran and India, and investing in its own aviation infrastructure. So the question is, how much longer can European airlines survive without Russian skies? Because at the end of the day, the sky doesn't care about politics. Geography always wins. And will Brussels swallow its pride and negotiate? Or will it keep sacrificing its own industry in the name of sanctions that Moscow has already learned to outmaneuver? If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Europe will eventually back down, or is this the permanent end of its dominance in global aviation? Stay tuned, because this story is only taking off.